There you are. Again, Charlie Greer Podcast. I do this every day today. So, early band days. Up before we do, please like, share, and subscribe. That's the best way to support the channel is just share it with a friend. Uh, share it on Twitter, Instagram, who knows? If you want to physically support the channel, all the information's in the description for my Cash App, which is my handle is Charlie Greer Podcast. And Zelle, it's my email. It's all in there. Let's do this. So, early band days. The early days of when I was in a band. So, I got my first band when I was 15. I remember this clearly because I was gigging before I had my license. I got a license at 16. So I had to have like people drive me around, pick me up, all that. And we were playing we played the Watertown Fair in Tennessee, fairgrounds, I should say. And I've talked about this in previous, it's strange because I was such a go-getter, and people seem like they were more go-getters. You talk to a 15-year-old nowadays, like I was just had so much drive and did so much and had actually more responsibility than I guess teenagers nowadays. Did that for like a year. That band split up. Right around when I was 16, turning 17, it split up. People went into bigger band, this and that thing. By then, I knew I wanted to be a singer because I started on guitar. My friend joined a band. He's like, hey, we need a bass player. Like, I don't have a bass. I've never played bass. You'll learn. It's easy. Borrowed a bass. A horrible bass, like a TS-Go. It was horrible. I'd be playing it and the string would fall off the bridge. I'd have to pick it up, put it back on, and be out of tune, Did that when I was 17, moved and joined another band of teenagers, basically. We had even more drive. They had actually rented like a storage unit where we rehearsed. And then we'd all come up with I forgot how much money it was. We split it. We came up with the money to, and then another band shared it. So they pitched in some money, but we were just, again, I don't see the same kind of drive from people in their teens. I just don't see it. We were literally go-getters, rehearsing at Kinko's, making flyers, cold calling clubs and coffee shops and this, that, and a bar. When somebody's having a party, we'll play for free, or for beer. And in good times, we probably had my second band. Which was called Electric Elephant, by the way. It was in Champaign, Urbana, and that band went on to we formed other bands and we did better stuff. But we were just go-getters every day. We were either rehearsing, writing, trying to come up with stuff, contemplating. We're contemplating at Kinko's. See, Kinko's where you had to make a flyer. You had to literally cut and paste and tape it on a master piece of paper, then turn down the fade or whatever so you wouldn't see the lines. And we were masters at making posters. And sometimes you had to wait. Kinko's was so busy that you had to wait until other people were done. And again, calling every coffee shop, walking around, literally go and hey, can we play? Can we play? It wasn't until my sister started. Guys when wanting to date my sister. We're yeah, I'm in a band, trying to impress my sister. Going, oh, my sister's oh, my brother's in a band. Really trying to impress my sister. We'll let you play. The first time Electric Elephant actually played a club was I worked at this. I had it was a job through school. You could leave. I think I was a sophomore, junior. You could leave at the half a day and go, and I have a job. You didn't get paid, you got credit. So I went to this, I got a mapping. There was this place that did mapping or whatever. And I would go, they'd give me codes. I'd pull the map so they could make the copies. And a guy working there, Brian, was in a band called Naked Apes. I got to know him. I was yeah, I'm in a band. Again, I was so driven and so confident. He's yeah, I got a band. So they yeah, you want to open up on a Tuesday or Wednesday night for us at Mabel's? Yes. Mabel's was the big club in town. Of course, we're all underage. I think I turned 18 by then, but I know that we're like, one of the guys was 16, one was 17, and I think me and the drummer were 18. So we had to have a chaperone. And they were cool back then. Again, we're had to wait outside the club, let us in to play, and then leave immediately. Like we couldn't hang out. And quite honestly, we were drinking outside, and adults were around. See, the times are different. Like, yeah, have a 2 or 3 beer. We weren't like partying. They gave us like 2 or 3 beers, or somehow we had somebody buy it for it. Who knows? I remember, at least I did. I know one of the guys in the band didn't drink, but maybe 2 of them. Who knows? Again, good times. And so we were kind of known as like, what in the world? These guys are like 16, 17, 18, and because we rehearse so much. When you're rehearsing like every day, you kind of get good. And with our shitty equipment, I mean, honestly, I think the guitar player was playing through like a PA head. His cabinet was like a 15-inch speaker, and he had some pedal in front of it. So it wasn't even a dedicated guitar amp. And what did he play? Like a fake Les Paul or something? I don't even know. Just here and there and everywhere. We were just trying. We thought we were so cool, which I think we were. And then you get bigger gigs. And then my sister, people would come to the house. See, the house was kind of the goings on. And we're always ordering foods, like a pizza delivery guy, the Italian beef guy, the Chinese food guy, whatever. And we got to know them. And then my sister was dating some of these guys. And then they had friends that were in bands. So like, hey, give me then a band called Clockwork Orange, named Andy. Awesome. He, hey, you want to open for Clockwork? Yes. Cause they would play weekends, like big gigs. And I remember that first time we played, by then I think we all had turned 18, or we lied about one guy being 18. We didn't have a chaperone. We didn't have to after a while, or they didn't care. It was packed. And again, some people make fun of you, like you're young. Who are you? Whatever. We're playing for Clockwork. Hey, packed house. We got into the battle of the bands. They had a battle of the bands. We were the first band on during the day, like early in the day. It was like 12 or 1. They're doing it all day long into a gig or something like that. We got zeros. We got like 4 or 5s that the judges didn't even give us a score, laughing and making fun of. The funny thing is, one of those judges ended up in the band, because when I left, they became Third Stone. He was the drummer of Third Stone. See, it's a strange, mysterious world we live in. Again, I like this dude. It's no big deal. Even when they gave us zeros, I went up and I was busting their balls too. I've been 6'2" since I was 13 or whatever. So a lot of these people were small. I went 0. I wasn't intimidating. Just like I thought it was funny too. Like, I get it, man. You're busting ball. I'm from that. I'm a hillbilly. Yeah, man, a 0. Well, I might have said, you know what? I'm going to do better than all y'all, which I did in the end. As far as my bands, I didn't stick around, whatever. Good times, learned a ton, learned about the politics of a band. So you have to there's a scene or whatever you call it, and you're getting fans. Then you have there's a different politics for the club. Then there's a different politics for the record stores. There used to be record stores all over the place. Some of them were nice to you. Some of them were hipsters that didn't care. You don't sound like you're nothing like the Cure. Oh, well, some would let you hang flyers. Some wouldn't. At the end of the day, when years went by, a couple years, but they all became friends, or if not friends, fans, or if not that, they give you respect. They're like, at least you're, because they saw what we were doing. We played on the local WEFT. Pardon me, it's like a non-for-profit college radio or something. They let me a couple nights do like a half an hour, play local music. I did that a few times. They didn't pay you. It was in this little, it was downtown Champaign, and it was in this little kind of office. It wasn't even an office. It looked like somebody's basement or something. Like it was. It was, and then the politics of that. See, Then there was other college radio stations. Then you just try to play as much as possible. Try to write as much tunes. So what was happening was I was writing songs that were kind of different than what Electric Elephant was doing. And Electric Elephant were kind of smart to think, you know what, we should learn more covers. We can make more money. I was like, well, in the long run, I want to do an original band. I don't want to be in a cover band. It was mutual. I remember the night that they actually got a new singer. Well, they brought him over to my place. First thing I met the guy, hey, you doing? Great. Because I was already wanting to do, again, people think that like, creative differences, that is a thing. That isn't like, it's like, well, what? None of that. Again, you're like a band of brothers and you might like argue. You're like, I'll kick your ass or what up, stupid. You're young, but it's not like you're going to kick anybody. You know what I mean? Like you're hot-headed, you're hungover, whatever. You mend fences, because once they became Third Stone, I became Love Engineer. Well, hell, I would jump on stage with Third Stone. I can't count how many times I jumped on stage and did like a song with them. All the time. When they're recording their album, I sang on the album. Some of those riffs are my riffs. I say, what? They wasn't no big deal. It's what it. You had by then you knew every band. Ken from Titanic Love Affair, he was one of my first. And Titanic Love Affair, if you've never heard of them, go check them out. They were a great band, and they got signed. But he was one of my first kind of he was one of these hipster guys from town. I wasn't. I'm hillbilly from Tennessee. He was one of the first guy to actually talk in my ear about starting Love Engineer, like do your own thing. Your lyrics are great, your songs. Which Electric Elephant didn't want to do some of the songs I was doing, which is fine. I didn't want to do some of their songs. It's just what it is. But Ken from TLA, Titanic Love Affair, was championing me, telling people like, hey, Charlie, when they got signed, they bought him like an 8-track, like a tape 8-track. He did my first demos ever, like my solo stuff. Jay, who was in TLA, Titanic Love Affair, he too was like, wow, man, you're a great singer. I mean, they're the first, like, because they were way past us. Matter of fact, they didn't even have to talk to us. We were like, low on the totem pole. Really cool. Again, the first ones to champion, like, hey, you guys are. And it wasn't, they didn't have to. Again, I'm trying. They were the coolest band in town and playing Chicago. And they'd already been to LA to record an album. And, they should have been bigger too. I love Titanic Love Affair. One of the best shows I've ever saw was Titanic Love Affair and the Digits. My God. They just, what? Awesome. Good times. Back then, Champaign Urbana was popping off. Like there was a Mabel's, Tritos Uptown, Blind Pig. And then there was other places we would play, like Nature's Table, which was like a vegetarian coffee shop. We would play, I don't even remember, the Red Lion or something like that. I mean, it's anywhere and everywhere. A lot of parties. We would just set up anywhere. Go, hey, we're having a party. It might be like that day. Hey, they're having a party. You guys want to? Sure. We just run around, get all our, we didn't have that much gear. Again, we were just doing what we had to do. We, go getters, which I don't see that much. Well, I don't see it at all. That somebody that's that young and really no support. Like our parents weren't really like encouraging it. They want us to go to college and this, that. No, we want to be in a band. Back then the music scene was a lot, but there was a music scene. There was record stores and record labels and independent labels and this, that. That's all collapsed, man. I don't know if people remember, but there was a lot of fanzines and just there was like a support system as far as like the scene. And of course, just by the law of averages that dictates certain things, not everybody's gonna like you. There was different groups of, I get it. I even knew it back then. It's just like, well, I mean, I'm not, and I liked a lot of bands. I didn't pigeonhole myself into, I knew we weren't the best band. That's a thing that I think why I got better, or we got better, was we realized that, like, you know what? Because some of these bands are like, oh, we're the best band. No, you're not, man. For one, we're better than you, and we're not that good, You have to realize, you have to be like realistic and not delusional. Like, you know what? I need to better myself. I need to get a lot better. How do you do that? You just rehearse like just bam, bam, bam. basically every day, or go make flyers, or go, and then when you make flyers, go hand them out. We would go like on a weekend night or whenever it was, because it was Green Street in Champaign-Urbana. There was all these bars and clubs and college kids and this, that, and the other. People coming from small town around there to party, and we would go give out, Tritos Uptown. Oh, I mentioned that. Chin's Walk and Roll Cafe or something like that. I worked there for a while, but we played there. We would make flyers and handbills, and then when we'd go walk around and go, hey, we're playing tonight at our storage unit, what it was. And so we'd have like free gigs at the storage unit, but they put it into that because we again, times were different. I'm sure it's all zoned now. You can't, good times. Again, just doing things that teenagers do, like underage drinking. Unfortunately, yeah, I did. I shouldn't say I did. Stupid. Like somehow get a bottle of tequila or something. Somebody gave it to you, whatever. And then all you have is Dr. Pepper to chase it. So you're drinking like tequila and Dr. Pepper. Well, never do that again. Perhaps you shouldn't. Yeah, that learned me. Just having a good time. Just, the excitement of the future and learning new things. I remember when I first learned to drop D tune. That's when you take your E string and drop it down to D, and then everybody plays like that. All the grunge stuff was drop D, most of it. I was learning because even though I was a singer in Electric Elephant, even though I'd been playing guitar since I was 8 and then got serious when I was 12. By the time I was 18, I basically been playing guitar for like 10 years. From 8 to 12, I had this shitty acoustic. I was trying. I knew Smoke on the Water and maybe Rainbow in the Dark or Crazy Train. I didn't know a lot of, I just knew riffs. I didn't know songs. I'd already played bass, so I understood the bass is the first 4 strings of a guitar. I had, as I was the singer, I was also practicing on my own with my guitar. I had a PV mini stack and had another amp too. I had a few guitars. And there was always people over, always friends or this and that. And then when I left Electric Elephant to try to start my own band, I had to go through a lot of people. I had to jam, meet people. There's people that I were good and loved to play, but then they were either college students or they weren't dedicated. They didn't want to be in a band. They realized at first they're like, yeah. And then you realize, oh my God, like it's a lot every day. No, they didn't want to. Of course, we still stayed friends. And then I did that for a year, and people thought I was crazy that I left Electric Elephant, but I wanted to do my own thing because they just kept getting, here I am not even gigging, just confident and centered and certain in my mind, like, well, it will happen. I want to start my own band. I want to be this other band who was a half originals, half cover. They were playing Mabel's or whatever. They got some interest. They got rid of their singer. Then they wanted to start a new band with a new singer, and that was me. They found me. They were older than me though, which was always a problem. When you're 21 and someone's 28, you would think now that wouldn't be, but that's a big gap. So we never really bonded as far as like, because I was always trying to get them to go fishing or go to the movies or just, they know, we never did that because Electric Elephant, well, we hung out. Like they'd spend the night at my place. We'd hang out. We're always doing it. With Love Engineer, wasn't that? It was just strictly business, band business. If there wasn't that, they'd go do what they, and again, I would try to, my girlfriend and I lived together at the time, and we'd be like, hey, we're having a dinner party or we're playing poker or whatever. They would never come. So those other friends that, so when I was in Love Engineer, I just hung out with other friends. It wasn't, Love Engineer weren't like Electric Elephant. We were friendly. We did everything together. Actually, we were more of a band as far as like friendship, but Love Engineer was, I wouldn't hate to say this, but like corporate, like, hey, you're the singer. That's what you do. Here's your itinerary, show up for practice, and then that's it. We might like drink a few beers before or after practice, but none of the, hey, let's go. None of that. And because of the age, it was they kind of looked down at me because I was young. I joined Love Engineer when I was 20. Uh, and by the time we broke up around 94, 95, what I was like 23, 24, yeah, they were in their 30s, like 30, 31. Just an age thing. And I got it. And but even then, at the end of Loving You, that's why I love it. We actually broke up at the peak of our, because I was like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to uh I was writing the same thing, creative differences. I was writing music that they didn't necessarily like at the moment. Because later on, when I started doing other stuff, they were like, why didn't you ever bring this? I did. That's the same music that you said. No, no, it wasn't. Yeah, it was. It's the same songs. Um, Strange how that happens. Again, this creative differences. It wasn't like we were arguing or anything. Like it was just, I want to do this, you want to do that, fine, And we did a lot in Liverpool. I learned a lot. That's when I first started playing out of town, headlining shows, actually longer gigs out of town, like playing like Milwaukee and Detroit and St. Louis and who knows. Just like in the Midwest, we weren't like a touring band. We'd have runs or whatever you call it. Some nights we would work, 7, 8 nights in a row, have a couple of days off, have 2 or 3 gigs, have another 2 or 3 gigs off, 5 in a row. It was kind of like that. All these towns in Illinois, all the surrounding Bloomington, Decatur, Springfield, Taylorville, Jacksonville. Oh God, who knows? Danville, into Indiana too, like Terre Haute, Indiana. And my last gig, the second to last gig. My last gig was in, I think, Danville at some big hall. It was a benefit for like a biker that had crashed or something like that. But one of the one before that was, I think it was the Terre Haute like fair. Like we're in Indiana, big fair. And I've talked about this. First time I had a buffalo burger, because once we sound checked or set everything up, me and one of the roadies walked around and checking out the fair, and we got a buffalo burger that was dry. It wasn't as good as we thought. Hamburger's better and juicier, whatever. Good times, really good times. By then I knew, though, I was like, I can just play guitar and sing. Now, this is the thing. In Love and Year, I was screaming. I was singing in this high register. I knew that I didn't want to. It was tough. I had to prepare myself and not smoke and this, that, and the other. But I knew that I could sing in this like mid-range, and I could play guitar and sing. So that's what I did in my basement. I had a microphone going through a little amp, had my amp, and I would play songs, my own songs. I had people over jamming. I might have a drummer. I might just have a guitarist. I might have a bass player. Who knows? So I was like, this is what I can do. Granted, it's not as sophisticated as Love and Year was kind of math rock. It's hard to play those songs, those Love and Year songs. They're all for one, drop D or B or whatever it was. But I learned a lot. That's the first time we had like a dedicated booking agent out of Chicago, like a manager. We had an endorsement for a year from Budweiser. They made posters and flyers for us and T-shirts for a while, and they paid for local radios. Saturday night, Budweiser presents Love and Year, that kind of thing. And the first time you hear yourself on the radio, that happened in Love and Year. Pardon me. When everybody wants to be your friend on a gig night, want to be on the guest list, and your phone is like going off, that we just unplug it. Me and my girlfriend like unplug it. Because I had this kind of routine where I'd try to nap that night before. That right before the gig, like 3 or 4 hours, I'd try to get some rest my mind and stuff. Take a hot shower before I got to the gig, just to clear up my lungs and do my warm up, And then, because this is after sound check, we did sound check around like 4 or 5 in the day, and then, of course, get there, have a few beers, not too many. By then I was drinking age. You want to get a 6-pack was too much to get on stage. You had to have 1 to 2 to 3. After 4, 5, 6, you're not on your, and I didn't want to be embarrassing myself. Sometimes I did. Sometimes the whole band would be pickled drunk. Is that it? And people were like, wow, you guys were great. Um, young, stupid. Again, it was a partying back then, early 90s. It was partying like that whole Green Street area. Everything was going on. On a Monday night, there might be 3 or 4 clubs with bands. And then a lot of bands would come down from Chicago, Material Issue, Urge Overkill, Naked Ray Gun. I mean, saw all these bands. Got lucky enough to see uh, Big Black or whoever it was. Just good times. Hope they can return. I don't. Maybe they won't, because I don't know anywhere. Is there anywhere there's a scene like that now? Because Champaign was even smaller. It wasn't as big as Seattle or LA or New York or Chicago even. It's a college town. But every night of the week, kids are going out, college kids, and these are rich college kids. To go to the U of I is expensive, the University of Illinois. On a school night, I guess who cares, and then the locals who would come from all over the place, all these towns around. And it was cool. It was fun. I learned a lot. Miss those days. Again, please like, share, and subscribe. That's the best way to support the channel. If you do want to support the channel, the information's in the description for Cash App. My handle is charliegreerpodcast, and Zelle. It's my email. All that's in the description. I'll be back tomorrow. I love y'all. Be blessed. Cheers.